Land makes up only 30% of the Earth's surface, yet it is a very valuable resource. Land not only supports plant and animal life and freshwater systems like rivers, streams, lakes and wetlands, but it also provides essential comforts for humans. It's where we build our homes, where we grow our food, where we recreate, and where we access potable water. But poor use of land by humans can be seen all over the Caribbean region, and such bad practices are expected to worsen the impacts of climate change.
It's a huge headache, and you know why it's an even bigger headache? Because the problems are cross-sectoral. Land management also has to do with the Ministry of Physical Development, or whatever that ministry is called in a member state. Land management has to do with the Ministry of Agriculture. Land management has to do with the Ministry of Tourism. Land management has to do with the ministry responsible for housing. So land management issues are very big, and there also is a very big legal aspect of land management, because a lot of it has to do with land tenure and who owns the land, who has rights to that land.
In recent decades, humans have placed unprecedented pressures on land in order to meet growing demands for food, fresh water, fiber, and energy. This pressure has resulted in a number of negative impacts on land, with many examples of such impacts seen in the loss of soil productivity, loss of water, loss of biodiversity, increased flooding, and loss of livelihoods. The call today is for us to change the way we use and manage land. Otherwise, the impacts of climate change will be even more devastating.
I believe that our generation is passing on a natural resource that is worse than we got from our parents, and that has to be corrected.
Our use of land for building homes and businesses and for farming is sometimes not done with enough environmental consciousness. In many cases, land use is unplanned, haphazard, disorganized, and poorly managed. In addition to the constant threat from human activities, land is also vulnerable to natural disasters, with the most recorded damage blamed on water. Heavy rain events and storms all take their toll on the land, but poor use of land, especially in hilly terrain, leads to unstable slopes, land degradation, and consequently devastation, as we have seen with increased incidents of flooding and landslides in our region.
And these are some of the areas that we're ensuring that our farmers are engaged in proper slope management, proper land management practices.
The whole concept of sustainable development is managing the resources so that you pass something on to the future generation.
We want to bring people to the table and say, what is important for you in the next 50 years? Based upon that and working backwards, what steps are going to be needed today?
What we need people to understand and to educate people about is that when you build in an area that has its peculiar vulnerabilities and storm comes around, landslide, that most of the times, okay, that we are the ones as the government who absorb a lot of these expenses, post and disasters, etc.
Recently, some governments have embarked on plans to go green as part of their sustainable development plan.
Dominica has been able to maintain its forests and its greenery and its water conservation because of the work of some forest officers in the 60s.
In other islands, governments have taken action to create hazard maps to ensure that sensitive areas are not placed at greater risk through ill-advised building construction. If you are a landowner or occupy land, you too have a responsibility to participate in or initiate discussions on how your country's land ought to be managed. We need green spaces, so encourage tree planting, especially along riverbanks, and encourage private landowners to adhere to zoning and other restrictions as stipulated by development control agencies. We know issues relating to land use are extremely sensitive and that landowners may resist and believe that they have a right to use their land as they wish. But the issue of climate change, innovative agriculture, forestry, and better land usage must be adopted if we are to survive changing weather patterns. Governments must work with the poor in order to improve management of standing forest and land in general, as this is one of the key ways of adapting to climate variability and change, whilst ensuring environmental integrity.
Act now. Rally. Rethink. Respond. This message is brought to you by the OECS Secretariat with funded assistance from the United States Agency for International Development.